Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. The crazy Ozarks weather is at it again. You know, it was just a few days ago that it was so dry, it was like a tinderbox around here. There was fires all over the place, just on constant watch. In fact, one particular day, it was a record, or near record, I'd say, at least a record within the past decade or so, of the worst fire conditions that this part of the Ozarks had seen in, like I said, about a decade or so. And then now it's raining. It's supposed to rain for at least another 24 hours or so. Creeks are filling up. No complaints on my part. I'm just saying how crazy it is around here. And that's what you have to deal with. It goes from one extreme to the next, it seems like it sometimes. That's not true. I mean, the Ozarks actually does have a lot of very mild, pleasant weather, but it can change very rapidly around here. Anyone planning on watching the State of Dementia tonight? I mean, the State of the Union. Sorry. I got the State of the Union address tonight. Who knows what's going to be said? I mean, I'm sure at the very least it would be entertaining, right? If you find that entertaining, watching someone fumble through and stories and statements and tell lots of untruths, lies, who knows? I'm sure we'll all see little clips of it, but I'm not planning on sitting and watching. I've got better things to do with my life. We've got family from out of town that are here, and they'll be at the house for dinner, and then also a friend is coming over with them. So we'll have a full house this evening for dinner. So I don't think I'll have a lot of time to be sitting and watching that. Other things are happening constantly, and to kind of piggyback off of what I was saying this morning in the video, I do believe that we are watching an all full-out invasion going on. I mean, I saw something, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw something that Tucker Carlson has weighed in, and he's basically saying the same thing that I've been saying for a while, that you know, they're purposely opening the borders. They're not using the military to stop it. And their hopes, I think, are, partly at least, is to replace the current U.S. military with a lot of the people that's come across the border. I mean, over the last 3 years, they have been trying to push out, whether it's through forced vaccinations or other policies, you know, doing all this inquiries of who is a patriotic extremist in the military and all this kind of stuff. I've talked to countless soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors that have decided to get out, you know, as quick as they can because of the policies, the wokeness that's happening in our military. And of course now, big shock, they can't get anyone to fill those roles. They can't get enough recruitments. Well, what are they going to do? Very likely that at least a portion of these people that have been coming across the border illegally will fill those roles. And like I've said before, that's scary. That may be one of the more scarier things that could happen if you look at all the perspectives of things that could potentially happen. At least in my book, that's one of the more scarier things, because for as long as I've been alive, and probably before that, most Americans, it's like in the back of their minds that our hopeful fallback is that if it gets really, really, really bad, the U.S. military, the soldiers, they're not going to really turn against you and I, right? Well, that's not something we'd have to even consider now. You know, if they fill the ranks with, at least with a lot of these foreign illegals that come from third world countries that are used to dictatorships, I'm sure they'll follow any kind of order that's given to them. And that's pretty scary. I mean, I know that there's no guarantee that that's going to happen, but I think it's looking pretty perspective right now, especially when you're seeing states and cities that are allowing them to work for the state governments or to become police officers. That's all falling into place, so it won't be much longer. And there really has always been an open door to that, at least for some people. that come into this country to get their citizenship through military service. But I'm sure they will come up with some kind of fast track program that, you know, you join up and you're legal and all of this other stuff is taken care of. Weird things going on around the world. The U.S. and United Kingdom's embassies in Russia have sent out a warning that they've got intel that there's planned massive protests in the next 24 to 48 hours in Moscow that could become dangerous. Who knows who's really behind those protests? Could it be, you know, a three-letter agency from the United States that deals in foreign, you know, toppling of foreign, you know, regimes? Who knows? I don't know. You know, there's just so much going on, and I'm at the point really that I sit here and I debate about talking about it. I know that many of you say that I'm one of the few news sources that you get, and I appreciate that, and that's why I try to be as accurate as I can and try to filter through most opinions, you know, other than maybe just a, you know, kind of a jokingness when I'm giving you that. But on the other hand, I sometimes wonder if there's any point to it. I mean, I say that we need to be aware of what's going on, and I think there's truth to that. But on the other hand, we know what's going on. We are watching the fall of Rome, the collapse. This is something that's happened in history, and we're watching it happen again. And yet there's still so many people that are just clueless to it. They're oblivious. They've bought the lie that everything's okay. They buy into the trolls and the you know, the paid, you know, operatives online that try their best to convince everyone that everything's okay. Everything's fine. I mean, you can still go to the grocery store. You can still, you know, get the things that you need. Yes, you pay more for them. Yes, sometimes they're harder to get, but everything's still okay. You know, we hear that. Well, it's fine in where I live. We're not seeing that dramatic increase in violent crimes and stuff. That's probably because you're not asking the right people, because I've talked to people from very small, local, small police departments, sheriff's departments, all the way up to, you know, larger cities, and they've all reported that crimes have increased dramatically over the last few years. We're seeing problems in just about every area of American life. It's been gradual enough that most people aren't seeing it as a collapse. They're just seeing it as a problem that we're going through. You know, well, it's because of COVID. COVID threw us off. You know, we'll get back on track soon. It's actually it's getting a little bit better. You know, they've convinced themselves. No, it's not. They're just getting a little bit more used to it every day, and so it appears to be more normal. Even though if you look at the numbers, it's not in just about every area. And so, you know, if nothing else, COVID did that. It conditioned everyone and gave an excuse for what's going on and how bad things are getting, when clearly some of the stuff that's happening is not related to that in any way, other than COVID just set things into motion is basically it. How bad is it going to be? Man, I couldn't tell you. I think possibly, probably, maybe, definitely possibly, but probably is a possibility, if that makes any sense. That things could be horribly bad, maybe worse than we even expect it to be. When you bring everything in, this totality of everything, and you start to look at all the stuff that's being pushed, the various narratives and the stuff that's being spoken about, and it's like they're conditioning. You know, it's like I said this morning, these National Guard troops and stuff in New York. Part of it could be just to condition people to be used to seeing armed National Guard military in uniform in the American streets, which is something that most of the time most Americans are not familiar with seeing. It could just be a conditioning to the slow roll out of martial law leading up to the election. You know, well, you know, we have all these troops in place for this one thing. Let's bring more troops out, add to them, because we have all these other things involving a potential upset of the election. that we need to have all these people out. Oh, well, while we're at it, we might as well restrict certain movements and certain rights and stuff of people. It's a perfect storm. That's all it is. It's a perfect storm, and it's not happening naturally. It's happening because it's being orchestrated. And folks like you get it. That's probably why you're watching. That's one of the things that you understand, and that's why you tune in to programs like this. But most people don't. And when things start to really go sour, those most people are going to become potentially dangerous. If you've not made solid connections with them, if you've not established, some kind of relationship with them, you never know what they're going to be capable of doing, because they're going to panic. The high concentration of population areas, the big cities and stuff, they're going to be bad. Don't let anyone convince you that you're safer in the big cities because there's just more stuff. The most dangerous thing you're going to have to deal with is just other people behaving even worse than they are now. And when there's even more people around, population density, well, then of course it's going to be even more dangerous. We're watching a slow breakdown of our society. And that is indicative of past collapses, that big civilizations, when they collapse, they watch their society break down. Not just the government, not just the economy, or anything like that. They're watching society as a whole start to break down. Like the glue that's holding it together is become weak, and it's pulling apart. And that really is probably more dangerous than most other things that we will face. There's ways to plan and prepare and have a survival plan laid out if the electricity goes out, or if the supply chain shuts down, or if the dollar stops being useful anymore. But when people just decide to lose it and start behaving badly, they go into survival mode. They view everything as an enemy, and that they will, do whatever they can to survive, even if it means hurting you or taking from you. That's really when things get bad. I mean, that's when it will make everything else seem like nothing. And it's quite possible that we're getting close to that point of that something tipping over, something breaking, finally snapping and breaking and causing people to start behaving badly. Because we're already dealing with people just behaving insanely. There's so much mental health problems in this country that it's overwhelming. And then you add to that desperation and this natural drive to just survive, and in people that have no abilities to kind of figure out the rights and the wrongs and kind of think clearly through things, you've got a recipe for disaster. And that's what we need to be getting ready for. Among many things, I get it, that's a big one. That's why I tell you, get out away from people. These dense population areas are not a safe place to be. Get out to where there's few people, and that you have enough space that you can start producing on your own, that you can create your own little environment, your own systems to stay alive. That's not going to be as good. You're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices, but the probabilities of you surviving all of this will greatly increase. It's not a perfect plan, because there is no perfect plan, but it's definitely better than the alternative. We really need to be working on this, folks, because goodness, every time you turn the TV on, or look at your phone, or listen to the radio, or whatever else it is that you get information, it's almost like a constant bombardment that things are getting really bad. And instead of that causing you to be down and depressed or giving up or whatever, it needs to motivate you. It needs to push you along even more, like getting hit in the rear end by a cattle prod. That's really what it needs to be. Because we probably don't have a ton of time left. I mean, there's still a little time, and when I say little, it could be weeks or months, but I don't think we have tons of time. I don't think we have years and years or anything like that. And it's not the time to be sitting on the sideline worrying and doing other things and putting this off till later. Now's the time to making this a fairly high priority in your life. It really is. We need to be getting our houses in order. You need to be, I need, we all need to. You know, I've been working on it. I know most of you have been working on it. I know you're working on your family, your preps, your skills, your training, your community. I get it. But don't give up, don't stop, and you need to be doing more. Whatever you're doing, you need to increase it. If it's the amount of food that you're buying, or the amount of ammo that you're buying, or the amount of hours you're spending in training and developing a skill, if you're part of a community, a tribe, a mag, however often that you meet and do things, you need to be doing it more often. You just do. Need to be preparing, folks, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.